Northumberland and Hadrian's Wall, castles and battle sites, ghosts and legends, coast and countryside. Sponsored by Eat and Sleep at Lindisfarne, Northumberland's premier bunkhouse and cafe, and held rider equipment. So come on, let's go on an adventure. So that's where we stayed last night. Eat and Sleep at Lindisfarne. Find out more about them in the book. And straight out of here we turn left to go on to the A1 because we're heading south on our castles and battles adventure. Be careful as you come out of here because straight away there's a speed camera. Are you ready for your first amazing sight of the morning? Beautiful Bay. Isn't that just simply glorious, that? A haven for people who like to be bird twitchers. Covered with bird wildlife, all different kinds of seabirds. Right out in the distance, doubt if the camera's picking it up, but right out in the distance you can see the castle of Lindisfarne. Unfortunately covered with a tarpaulin as it gets repaired and maintained. But this is also part of where the causeway has the issue. You know, the causeway where the water comes in quickly. You can see just how flat and how far out the tide goes. So when the tide comes back in, it rushes in. And that, my friends, is this amazing view of Bamburgh Castle. Just look at that. The skyline to take your breath away. Now as we come into Bamburgh, there's also another story, and that is Grace Darling, famous for her rescue of a shipwreck many years ago on the Farne Islands. And back in those days you had to row out to the shipwrecks, but Grace Darling was involved and she became famous because of it. None of the other people who helped to save the shipwrecked sailors have been remembered, just her. And what we have here as we come up on the right is the Grace Darling Museum, and you can find out more about her in the book. But that's the museum there. You can go out in there and find out all about it. But Bamburgh itself is quaint, it's beautiful. I would hazard a guess it's got to be the best village on the Northumberland coast. Very, very popular, and it's popular for one big reason, and that's her there. You tell me a castle in Britain, if not the world, that looks more spectacular than that. Isn't it just stunning? Atop basalt rock, overlooking the coast and countryside. And the connection is Lord Armstrong, who owned Cragside House in Rothbury, who became wealthy because of being the first illuminated house in the world using electricity, amassed enough of a fortune to buy here. And he lived and worked here. So, there we've got it. Motorcycles only. Dedicated area for your bikes. Not only that, but they'll allow you to leave your helmet and your jacket in the shed where the guy who controls your entry into the castle, and you can leave your stuff there so you don't have to carry it around. And if there's enough of you and you contact them, they'll let you go up into the castle and park around the courtyard. And that is what you call special. But not as special as this. It almost looks Mediterranean, doesn't it? Isn't that one of the most magnificent sights in the world? Mile after mile of golden beach, the waves gently lapping in, beautiful clear blue skies. You tell me somewhere that's better than this at 8:30 in the morning.
Welcome to Bamborough Castle. In my opinion, the finest castle in Britain. It spans approximately 9 acres on this site, and there's been suggestions to say that there have been people on this site since 10,000 BC, that it's been attacked by Vikings, and there's been excavations to suggest hundreds and hundreds of years of history. Lord Armstrong, the owner of Cragside at Rothbury, owned this castle as well. And when you get here and you go inside, the walls are adorned with history. So let's go and have a look. When you come and visit Bamborough and come to Bamborough Castle, when you get inside, the walls are adorned with hundreds and hundreds of years worth of history. Behind me is just one of the rooms that you can come and explore and discover what it was like over the hundreds of years.
Once you're up at the castle and you look over the Northumberland coast, where the castle has this commanding view, you see mile after mile of golden beach. If you get the right day and the clear blue sky and the sea lapping in, it takes somewhere special to be anywhere better than this. So there we have Bamborough Castle. Even as you come down, you get such a fabulous view. Just look at it. The cannons pointing out to sea of what it must have been like. Thank you. And as we come down from the castle and we look right up into the distance, they're the Cheviot Hills. So the castle really does have a commanding view atop basalt rock over the Northumberland coast and countryside. Simply breathtaking place to visit. Look at that glinting off the surface of the sea. And there's the Farne Islands even closer. It's hard to imagine today the Farne Islands being in a horrendous storm sufficient to make a shipwreck. Get yourself to the Grace Darling Museum and find out more. As we've come into the outskirts of sea houses, this area was prolific with the Anglo-Saxons, and in fact there is history of the Anglo-Saxons being at Bamborough Castle, or Bamborough, but also in sea houses as well. So it was pillaged and plundered by the Vikings and by the Anglo-Saxons. And there are also suggestions saying the Romans occupied this area too. Although it is north of Hadrian's Wall. And that's the harbour over there. Now that is where you can get yourself a little day trip and go out to the farms and get yourself really close to it. So we're in the centre of Alnwick now. It really is a lovely market town. There's no getting away from that. And what we're going to do is we're going to climb up and we're heading towards Rothbury. We're not going to go Rothbury, but we're heading that way. And the reason being is, well, you're going to see very soon. Look at that, you blighter. Isn't that just spectacular? That is one of the country's finest views. All the shades of green. Some golden fields where the corn has been cut down with the slightest hint in the near distance, just down that area there where the trees are turning into autumn. And that's what we're going to be riding through as we head towards our battle. Beautiful, isn't it? That's what makes this road all worthwhile. And to show you what we are going to be riding through. And this is where we turn left. And literally in this area here the battle will have taken place. We are now riding over ground which will have been soaked in blood. We may well be riding over where there are swords and shields and clubs, and for that matter even skeletons. All around here the battle. Thousands and thousands of men screaming battle cries, death, destruction. Welcome to the Battle of Flodden. We're going to see the Battle of Flodden that happened on the 9th of September 1513. And currently we're in the middle of September 2017. So just over 500 years ago. And all around here, thousands of men battling. Near as damn it, 500 years ago. You can more or less gather why, can't you? To the south there, the hill, on this hill, so you can see what's going off. You've got a little bit of cover there, the other side of the hill, which they will have up there. Up there you've got the Scottish borders, literally. There's Coldstream's just over there, in the middle distance. And on these fields, in September 1513, 4,000 Englishmen lost their lives, 10,000 Scots lost their lives, as well as the King of Scotland. The Scots opened fire in the afternoon of the 9th of September 1513. On a damp, awful day, totally different to today, muddy fields. But can you imagine just running down, even on today, in those fields, to in the bottom? 14,000 in total men lay on these fields, dead. 14,000. The screams. The battle cries, the guns going off. And this was all while Henry VIII was in France campaigning. And it was Northern Commander who was in charge. "500 years ago. It beggars belief. 14,000 men. The Battle of Flodden. Find out more about it in the book. And there's the brown sign which tells us that we're going to be turning off to Ford and Eton. Also a good place for a stop because there's a nice tea room here. And here we are approaching it. Now I'm going to do something that maybe you can't, and that's ride over the bridge. But here we are, part of the Ford and Eton Estates at Hatherslow Corn Mill, Visitor Centre and Railway.
Welcome to Ford and Eton Estates. As you can see in front of you now, this is the corn mill, where we can go inside and see the corn mill working.
I know, you're not the only one.
corn mill situated next to the beautiful river. And downstairs, they've even taken time to indicate what each part is. Still turning the mill these days, producing flour that you can buy in the shop. The shop itself has a good collection of books, as well as gifts that you can take away. With a lovely tea room just to the side, so you can sit and relax with a lovely cup of tea and a scone, if you wish. Then the other side of the river, you have the fantastic narrow gauge railway, where you can take this for a short ride between Ford and Eden.
Three, two, one, stick engine, whoa!
Leaving the corn mill behind and heading towards the village, you come across the heavy horse centre. That's also open for visitors to have a look round. And depending upon the time of year, you may just be lucky enough to see one of the newborn foals. Look at the size of that.
How old?
7 months.
7 months!
Travelling on into the village, you come across the gallery. Beautiful paintings inside. Lady Waterford's gallery. So Ford and Eatle Estate has an awful lot to offer. You can spend a whole day there just relaxing and enjoying the atmosphere.
Exit, because we're now going to the most haunted castle in the world. And does it have a few stories to tell? Chillingham, the home of Chillingham Castle. Now, Bamburgh Castle is, in my humble opinion, the most impressive castle in the world. Its location, its stature, its outlook, its history, it cannot be beaten. However, Chillingham Castle is a very close second. You'll have to read all about it in the book, because the history and the stories, there's too much to talk about in this. And believe it or not, you can even stay here in the most haunted castle in the world. Some people say you'll not stay asleep all night. Others just say, oh, you'll never stay there, never. Whereas there are others who enjoy that sort of thing. Woohoo! Just look at that.
Welcome to Chillingham Castle. At first a 12th century stronghold, Chillingham became a fully fortified castle in 1344. Steeped in the nation's history, it occupied a strategic position as a fortress during Northumberland's bloody border feuds. But there is no castle without talking of torture. There is a region of the castle dedicated to torture. And there is even an original chopping block where heads were severed from bodies and the blood would go around that channel of the block as it drained away. While filming in the tea room, no matter what I tried, I couldn't get the camera to focus. I wonder why. Because when I moved positions, everything came to life. And in this room here is the dungeon, where people were interred, and at the bottom of that grate during excavations, skeletons were found. Then we have the Great Hall, adorned with weapons of years gone by. And you can just imagine the owners, the gentry, the royalty having a fabulous feast in this room. But this room is more important. It's the Blue Room, and it's reputed that blue flashes were seen, and even the body of a small boy found behind the walls. It's the haunted room. But this is the most impressive for me. This room had Edward Longshanks. He stayed here on his way to try and defeat William Wallace of Scotland. And this room, well, you're going to have to visit to find out more. The history, the stories, the heritage, the ghosts of Chillingham Castle. You can only appreciate it by being here.